Let's bring in Mohamad Elmasry now. He's a media studies professor at the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies. Good to speak to you again, Mohamad. Nearly 70% of all the fatalities in Gaza are women and children. This is coming from the UN and analysing various sources inside Gaza. Does that statistic, an extraordinary number, surprise you?
Well, it doesn't surprise me. Actually, experts, scholars, analysts have been reporting that figure for many months. Israel has a number of military doctrines, military policies that basically call on the Israeli military to target civilian areas. I'll just mention one of them really quickly, but they have something called the 100-to-1 ratio. So if they find out that there's a Hamas fighter, for instance, in an area, a Hamas commander, they will aim to kill that commander, even if they calculate that 100 civilians, women, children, and others, will be killed in the process. They also have the Dahiya doctrine and some other military policies. And so it's not surprising that there are that many civilians, that many women and children being killed. We've known about this for months. It's important that the United Nations is saying this, but I likened it this morning to a doctor coming in after everyone already knows, including the paramedics, that someone is dead, but we need a doctor, we need an MD to come in and sort of confirm it. And that's what this report does.
So what do you think it then leads to?
Well, probably nothing tangible and immediate. I think that this is important because it adds to the growing pressure on Israel. But we have to remember that the United States and Israel, which Noam Chomsky calls the two leading rogue states in the world, have been working for many years to undermine and sideline and weaken the United Nations. This is documented in the academic literature. People can look at the works of Stephen Walt and Richard Falk and Noam Chomsky and others. But the fact that the United Nations doesn't have a great deal of power means that we can't expect anything immediate and tangible.
Israel's rejected the report. It says that its war in Gaza is one against Hamas. But to what extent does this figure, again, nearly 70% of all deaths being women and children, point to it being more than a war against Hamas?
Well, there's no question that there's a lot of evidence that suggests that this is more than just a war against Hamas. I just cited a couple of the military policies, and there are others. But I think if you look at other areas and aspects of this war, for instance, if you look at aid workers, the number of UN aid workers who have been killed, it's a world record, right? No other conflict in history has killed that many aid workers.
Or journalists.
I was just about to mention, you took the word out of my mouth. It's also a world record for journalists. These are situations where Israel, and there's video evidence. South Africa actually presented a lot of evidence back in January at the World Court, at the International Court of Justice. There's a lot of evidence that Israel deliberately targets these groups. And so, I don't think Israel has much of an argument or much ground to stand on, as it were.
Mohamad Elmasry, good to speak to you. Thanks for coming in.